Hi, this is Shui with a review of a Korean film titled Exit. Exit 2019. Maybe there were other movies with a similar title before. There was a girl group called Exit or EXID, so it can be a little bit confusing when we use English words, a singular English word for titles of songs or groups or artists or movies. But anyway, this is a disaster movie, but with a comedic tone. And yet, it's not entirely out there, hoo hoo ha ha, yeah, slapstick comedy, toilet humor kind of movie. It's actually pretty good. It's getting a lot of positive reviews in Korea because never has there been a disaster movie like this one. Um, well, I don't think we've seen a disaster movie like this in Hollywood either. We've had the ones with serious tones, like usually it's The Rock saving people and punching someone who's responsible for this uh, disaster and something like that. Well, Korean disasters movie had a similar vibe to it. Usually there were the tried and tested formulae, the cliches like, oh, there's so much violin playing for the heroes and their families and whatnot, crying like, oh, if I make it out alive. There was a movie with good intent in the past, like Pandora. It was about nuclear power plant disaster. So someone has to take the fall and risk their life and press the button and yeah, that's great. We'll feel for you. We'll cry for you. But then they had like a 10-minute scene where this guy cries and sends a video message to his family. Oh, I've been a bad son. Cut that crap, please. So this does a really good job of doing that, cutting that BS all the way down. It's completely fat free. It's pure protein. It's very good. It doesn't have that. It still has that family element to it. That's the very Korean side to it. It starts with this kid, the present day generation youth. One of the biggest issue in Korea is job job security or employment opportunities in Korea. Youth job rate is at a very disturbingly low rate, and many people talk about how this generation has it the hardest in terms of landing a job. Uh, I've had it relatively easy. My parents' generation had it relatively easy compared to what they're going through right now. I've never dreamt of college students studying, hitting the book so hard, not just at school, but also learning or going to sort of specialized cram schools to be best prepared for their jobs, whatever it is they're going for. Usually kids dream about something, I want to be a rock star or an artist or whatever, something that doesn't really pay the bills, and then you end up getting a job, and usually that's you I guess yielding to the world, compromising. But these days people work hard to land that thing that we consider a compromise during our generation. So this movie depicts that situation somewhat gently, but you can feel it. I'm sure many young Korean viewers felt that. You work so hard to prepare for your job. It's so hard to land a job, and you spend so many times studying for job exams or uh, getting the getting the right experience that you can put on your resume to get a certain job, and the competition's so stiff. You end up 2 years in a job that you can't stand, something a compromise of what we consider a compromise in our generation, until they can reach the compromise that we've had automatically after our graduation. Well, anyway, the lead character is one of those youngsters. He's a dude. They show him just working out in a neighborhood playground, doing pull-ups and things. But people just look at him funny because it's a time of day it's a time of the day when people should be at work. People his age should be suited up and be at an office space working, but he's there. So just people look at him like a loser with concern because that's the reality of the situation. We have a lot of these uh, people who are in between school, graduation, and employment. The interesting behind story is that he was a devoted member of a school curriculum club, uh, wall climbing club. So he has all that gear, and he gets a lot of flack from the family for why did you waste your time with this? It doesn't help you at all to land a decent job. Why wall climbing and mountain climbing? What would that do? How would that put bread on the table and whatnot? So he's in that situation. It's hard to get a job, but he runs into his former schoolmate he had a crush in, working in this event hall, should I call it? They're holding a grand 70th birthday celebration for his mom, but yeah, that's where he meets his old college crush. What happens is some disgruntled employer or a researcher who had some disputes with his co-researchers or a big company that funds their research decided to use his knowledge and expertise to just let out some advanced type of poison gas. So he did that. He takes his own life. I guess he's trying to make a statement, but it spreads to where our stars are and their families are. So they're in this situation where they need to get higher up, get help, but it's hard because there are a lot of situations where the door is locked, so you have to get out the building and climb and swing to a certain way so the door could be open from the outside in and whatnot. So they feel like they're sitting ducks, but our hero decides to break the window, just use what impromptu equipment they have. Fortunately, his former crush from college was also a wall climbing enthusiast in the same club, so she had some minor equipment. So she handed to him. He makes these amazing leaps and climbs, and those scenes are amazing. Those scenes are the highlights of the movie in some sense. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot of great comedic timing and a dose of a bit of reality in it. And it's nicely paced. The main actor, Cho Jung-suk, does a good job with his comedic timing. He can carry out roles that require one to be a little over the top in a very composed fashion like no one else can. He was in another movie called 건축학개론. Architecture 101 was the title from 2012. He had a small supporting role, and he was a scene steal. He was the shining star of that show, although he didn't have a lot of scenes. So that's the man. He has this chance to shine, and he does a great job because his scenes, the comedic time, the dialogue, the character you empathize with, it's great. A lovable loser who has heart, and when he's doing these climbing stunts, it just everyone's grabbing onto the handle of their seats or sweating in their palm or holding the loved ones on the side. So yeah, it was a pretty impressive movie. Rarely you see it. Not even in movies like Skyscraper or some disaster movies starring The Rock. You feel that because maybe it's because The Rock is kind of like a superhero and you know he's gonna make it through. But this guy, he's just some regular Joe loser who has some experience climbing and is trying to do these improbable climbs. Well, it's nice until that. It's nice, but I wish they had more of these climbing scenes. I mean, they have the great comedic moments and chemistry between the two leads. They don't spend too much time dwelling on their family who's crying and all the victims, and they don't have some incompetent government who's trying to do things to get on the good side of voters or whatnot. There are no evil villains scheming behind it. There are no nincompoops who get in the way because they're stuck with some misguided protocols. They don't have those cliches in this movie. That's what makes it fantastic. That's why it's been getting a lot of praise in Korea. But again, the highlight is how he and his old flame get into situation, use those equipments or whatever situations they have to climb and get over buildings or get out of situations to get to higher ground, to beat the odds. A bit of a MacGyver moments. They had bits and pieces of that at the beginning, and they just ran out of it somewhere in the after the 2/3 of the movie's done. They're just running, and people are kind of cheering them on, and there are drones following them, and yeah, that's when it kind of goes downhill. So it was a very promising movie, and it did a great job of shaking off all the cliches, which I guess a lot of previous Korean movies stuck with, because it works and it puts butts on the seats, and Koreans like those emotional, heartstring tugging kind of violin playing type of dragged on emotional scenes. But hey, people are changing. I think a lot of moviegoers are smarter these days, and a lot more stricter in terms of giving the thumbs up. So this filmmaker did a good job of noticing that trend, or maybe he just felt like he could risk it all. The director's name is Lee Sang-gun. I believe he's a pretty young director. He waited actually for a year or two until Cho Jung-suk, the main lead, had the vacancy in his tight schedule to work on this project. So he waited, and kudos to him. He was the perfect man for the job. The girl, the actress who plays his love interest, Yo Soul Flame, is a member of Girls' Generation, a very popular K-pop band, and yeah, she does a good job of scrunching her face and not, not reluctant to look bad, break out of the idol mold. So it's pretty good. Yeah, most people will say like not bad for an idol, but I say this is a pretty good job for any actress. It still has the role still has limitations because she's not doing all the crazy climbing and all these stunts with the man. The man is still kind of leading the whole process and the whole story forward.